Welcome to the Clashing of Steel. So finally long awaited and very important changes are taking place. Actually have already taken place. The update 3.1.3. It comes with two great changes. One is for the Carthage and one is for the matchmaking. Although matchmaking actually isn't part of 3.1.3, it is something they want to test and see how we like it. Or in general, how well will it work? Well, what is so special about the matchmaking? To start, the tier balance of mid and low tiers has been reworked. So players with tier 4s, 5s, 6 or tier 7s won't face off against 2-tier higher opponents. Meaning that you will either face 1-tier lower opponents or you will face 1-tier higher opponents, but not both. You can see the new tier listing here. If everything works fine, you should not face 2 strong opponents or 2 weak opponents. So up to tier 7, you should be rather viable against your opponents. They shouldn't be too stronger or too much weaker than you. But with tier 8, you may still be matched up against tier 10s. This is just so that the medium and the low tiers can have balanced matches, seeing as tier 8s, 9s and 10s can actually be somewhat viable against each other. At least more so than on the mid and lower tiers. Personally, I have suggested this from the start of the closed beta. I've been wishing for it and waiting for it for so long, and finally it is here. Hopefully we can have some really well balanced matches right now. But okay, let's go to the Carthage changes in the patch 3.1.3. The commander skills of Hannibal and Hasdrubal will be improved. And it is also something that a lot of players have been wishing for, because it is rather hard to play Carthage infantry, especially the swordsmen. And let's hope these improvements make them a bit better. So, starting with the Hannibal and the Forced March. It no longer gets view range penalty, it gets minus 30% melee defense as the base ability, and it will stay active as long as it is deactivated. When you are engaged in melee, no longer deactivates this ability, making it viable to chase down some opponents. But remember, when it is active, your melee defense is weakened. So the determination got a small change as well. It is now unbreakable, so when you activate it, your units cannot be routed and they will withstand morale changing effects, while also getting some melee attack. But it is reduced from 20% to 15% to balance it out. And hopefully the determination will give more options for Hannibal. So the final commander skill at Portas or at the gates can now be activated when you're out of combat. Probably one of the more important changes to this skill is the deactivation timer. It has been increased to 15 seconds from the previous 4 seconds, which is rather remarkable. It has only got one phase instead of 2. Its base damage has been decreased from 100% to 50%. Added 30% base melee defense, plus another 30% of base melee attack, and intensity timer has been reduced to 12 seconds instead of previous 60 seconds, with also the reduced cooldown to 140 seconds from 240. Intensity timer should be the time it takes for the skill to take its maximum effect, meaning it does still build itself up, but it doesn't take 60 seconds as it did before. So these were the Hannibal changes. Now let's move over to the Hasdrubal. Well, it appears his flying columns ability has been left untouched. So we're gonna start with the deep pockets. It gets increased base defense and talent defense, while also getting increased attack and increased talent attack, which starts off both with 20% and both can be upgraded by another 20%. Plus, it can now be used in combat. Even for good players, it was aggravating to buff at right time. You often had to flank, charge into something, and you couldn't buff your friendlies or yourself. And well, now it has been made somewhat easier, and this change I really like, and Hasdrubal definitely deserved this. So, okay, let's move over to the Bribe, which is the tier 5 ability of Hasdrubal. It no longer has intensity timer, which means it will get its full effect the moment you activate it on your opponent, making the debuff in general a lot better than it was before. And the Bribe also gets a small buff against the archers, or any ranged units for that matter. The reload speed of ranged units that are effective with the buff Bribe or debuff get increased reload time by 40%. Meaning that even archers have something to be afraid of. And before I forget, there is also a small change for the shield screed, which is the Carthage infantry or sword infantry ability. Previously it used to immobilize us, but now it just reduces the movement speed by 50%, got a small missile block increase as well to 40% from previous 35, and automatically deactivates after 0.1 seconds in combat, making it kinda feel like a light testudo. There were several other changes, bug fixes, UI improvements, but these commander changes and matchmaking change were the most important ones. I think it is an excellent time to test out the Carthage commander skills. They might not be as powerful as Germanicus, but hopefully they will be more viable against many other opponents. So this was it about the long-awaited important changes. Anyways, don't forget to subscribe, and thanks for watching.